Cruise news time, and look, I did it. I cruised during Omicron, and I'm here to tell you about what cruising is like right now. Cruise news. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony. Welcome to the show. Welcome to a special edition of the Cruise News, where today we're going to focus primarily on what it's like to cruise right now. What is cruising like right now? What is it like to cruise during Omicron? I did it. I went last week on Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas with the specific goal in mind to see what it was like to cruise during Omicron. It had been since the beginning of December last year that I'd been on my last cruise. And so my last cruise was really before this latest variant hit hard and heavy, and I was super interested to find out what cruising would be like during this part of the pandemic. Now we're going to break the show up into some chunks today. We're going to look at the pre-cruise. We're going to look at embarkation. We'll take a look at the specific protocols for my cruise. We'll talk a little bit about capacity, and then we will also talk about the ports of call, and finally we'll talk about the impact of ill crew members on my cruise. And if you've been paying any attention, you know that the ill crew member situation has been the hallmark of cruising during Omicron, causing a lot of disruption. That's really what we're going to talk about. Was my cruise experience somewhat normal compared to other cruise restart experiences, or was it really impacted by Omicron? But before we jump headlong into our first topic, let me quickly thank the sponsor of today's show, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills. It's 2022, everybody. Time to level up the game. Look, if you're interested in changing your job, and that's happening a lot in 2022, there's no better way to learn a skill than using Skillshare. And for me personally, I've been trying to level up my productivity skills so I can take Lido Loca to the next level. I've been working through this class, Real Productivity, How to Build Habits That Last, by entrepreneur Thomas Frank. My favorite section so far is the one entitled Perfect is the Enemy of Good. And I've certainly been in that trap where I've been afraid to move forward because the work I'm doing just isn't perfect. Good is sometimes good enough, and I've really enjoyed picking that up from this class. A few of my favorite features of Skillshare are the short class links and the fact that it's ad-free learning, no pop-ups to distract you while you're trying to get into the heart of the lesson. And of course, Skillshare has a great offer for you, the locafam. The first 1,000 people to click the link in the description, you get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. Easy peasy, click the link and learn a new skill today. Skillshare, thank you for sponsoring the show. All right, chunk number 1, the pre-cruise. Let me tell you, the pre-cruise in 2022, not much different than the pre-cruise experience of 2021. Testing is still in place. I had to take a pre-cruise test so that I could take a negative test result with me to the cruise port. I had to check in online. Much of what I did was on the Royal app, and all of that very consistent to what I experienced in 2021. Also, not much different in this cruising during Omicron period is the embarkation. I think the embarkation may actually be quicker than it was in 2021. The embarkation for me on the Harmony of the Seas really only took as long as it did for me to walk from station to station. I had all my paperwork in order. I presented it quickly to the people that were attending the terminal. And again, it was just as quick as I could walk from getting in the building, through security, through the initial check-in, and then onto the cruise ship and up to my cabin. The whole process from getting out of the Uber to getting to my cabin, less than 20 minutes. And you know what else was easy peasy during the embarkation process? The muster process. As soon as I got to my cabin, I watched 2 videos on the app about the life jacket and about the horns, and then I walked to my muster station. My card was scanned and it was over. I had mustered within the first 5 minutes of my cruise. Now let's slide over and talk a little bit about the protocols. Protocols definitely have gotten more intense during Omicron, primarily around masking. Prior to the rise of the Omicron variant, Royal Caribbean did have areas on the interior of the cruise ship where you could be mask-free. One of those areas was the main theater. When there were shows for vaccinated-only guests, you could enjoy the show without your mask. Since the rise of Omicron, masking has been required for all passengers indoors and outdoors where social distancing cannot be achieved. Also, in entertainment venues, social distancing was encouraged, and they did use a staggered release process to release people out into the hallways at the end of the show. Of course, the exception to this is eating and drinking, and so if you went to any of the bars around the cruise ship or any of the eateries, you would see people unmasked. Other protocols that were in play were social distancing, where people lined up. Also, on the elevator, there was a limit of 6 passengers. There was no smoking in the casino, and masks were required in the casino. And everywhere on the cruise ship, you could tell there was a heightened attention to cleaning and sanitizing. Now, reflecting back on my time on the Harmony, for the most part, those protocols were pretty well followed. The staggered release was troublesome for some people. I did do a show about that. I will link that above. Make sure that you check that out. But all in all, I felt very good about the way the protocols were being adhered to by the passengers on the cruise. Now, let me take a moment to talk about capacity. I'd heard a couple different numbers, between 2,100 and 2,500 passengers on a cruise ship that holds well over 5,000 passengers. We were somewhere between 30 and 40%, and it did feel pretty empty. That was the interesting thing about this cruise. It was a huge mega cruise ship, and there would be times where you would walk in the main promenade and you would be the only person there. I was good with it. I know some people are not good with it, but I was good with it. I'm not a huge fan of crowds. I'm not a huge fan of maneuvering my way between a lot of people. So for me, this was a little slice of cruising heaven. Some people question, with the limited capacity, is there still opportunities for socialization? Certainly. I saw tons of people meeting and getting to know each other. There were opportunities for people to dine with strangers. There were also many theme nights where the nightclub was open, or where there would be areas where people could congregate and get to know each other. And so I believe that those who wanted to have a social experience definitely could have a social experience. Now, some of the biggest concerns of disruption on cruising right now is disruption to port stops and disruption to events and services on board. That's what we're going to cover next. But first, let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. We're working really hard to get to 150,000 subscribers. We're very close. If you've ever considered subscribing, this is a great time to do it. Be a part of the Loca fam. It doesn't cost anything, and it really helps us out, and it helps you out too, because you get notified when the new shows come out, and that's a win-win in my book. Please subscribe. Thank you in advance. Now let's talk about the potential disruption of ports of call. One of the biggest stories prior to this cruise were cruise ships being turned away because of case counts on board, and that was certainly a concern when I boarded the ship. Would this ship keep the itinerary that I was assigned? Well, it did not in the beginning. After I booked the cruise, the very next day, we lost Puerto Rico. We lost San Juan, Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico had instituted a testing policy, which made it very difficult for cruise ships to test their passengers before they got to San Juan. So before the cruise even began, we lost San Juan, but it was replaced with St. Martin, and awesomely, we went to St. Martin. Our second port of call was in St. Thomas. Early on in the cruise, there was an announcement that suggested we may not go to St. Thomas, but then later that announcement was replaced by another announcement that we would definitely be going to St. Thomas, and that's what happened. The day after St. Martin, we made a call at St. Thomas. I went off for an excursion. It was beautiful. Now, our final scheduled port stop was at the Perfect Day at Coco Cay, and that one happened too. So in a time where there were some challenges for cruise ships making their ports of call, at least on our cruise, we made all three, which was a plus. But if you guys have been around at all, you know the thing for me is I like to go cruising for entertainment, and my biggest concern is, would there be a disruption in the entertainment or venues being open because of issues with crew members being ill? There were certainly crew members missing from the Harmony of the Seas, and it did impact the entertainment. The Oasis class ships are known for their Broadway shows, and the Broadway show on the Harmony of the Seas is Grease. Unfortunately, there was no Grease to be found on the Harmony of the Seas. There was no Danny Zuko, no Sandra Dee, there was no Grease Lightning. Another show that was impacted by ill crew members was Big Daddy's Hideaway Heist in the Aqua Theater. One of the things I love the most about the Oasis class ships is the Aqua Theater and the shows that happened there. But to Royal Caribbean's credit, in both the cases of Grease and the Big Daddy's Heist Aqua show, Royal Caribbean said the show must go on. We did get a showcase of performers in the Aqua Theater, and Royal Caribbean brought on outside performers to fill the stage in the main theater every night. And look, the other big entertainment draw on these Oasis class ships and some other Royal Caribbean ships is the ice skating shows. The ice skaters were there in full force. They put on two amazing shows, 1883 and Ice Skate, and they both went off without a hitch. It was really, really good. All in all, I was super happy with the entertainment I experienced during this week. I got to see two comedians. I saw a juggler. I saw a really good Broadway singer. I saw the two ice skating shows. I saw the showcase at the Aqua Theater. I saw live music in the pub. There was live music at Bolero's. And so as someone whose cruise experience is really built around the entertainment factor, the big boy was entertained. And let me mention a couple other venues that were a little bit challenged during this cruise. Sabor had no food at all. Only the bar was open at Sabor. Solarium Bistro, not open at all, not providing any meals. And Johnny Rockets only open for lunch. Normally that had a longer schedule. I do want to mention that the buffet was open for dinner every night, and it's a buffet where they serve you. It's not self-service. And then, of course, the main dining rooms, the other specialty restaurants, wide open. So what's it like to cruise during Omicron? What's it like to cruise right now? It's certainly a little more restrictive than it was when cruising restarted back in June, a little more restrictive than it was in early December of 2021. But considering everything that's going on with Omicron, the huge spike that we saw, the challenges of keeping crew members well and isolated and bringing them back into service, overall not a bad cruise experience. I had a blast. Is it for everybody right now? I'm going to say it the way I always say it. If you have any concern at all about your cruise experience being disrupted, if you're worried about missing a port, if you're worried that your favorite show is not going to be there, this may not be the time for you to cruise. And if you could possibly move your cruise, that's what I would do. But on the flip side, if you're looking for a nice cruise experience that's not that crowded, where you can really enjoy some of the amenities of the cruise ship, this is the time to go. It was so nice that it was not that crowded. I would 100% do it again. Boom, that's your special edition of the cruise news. That's what it's like to cruise during Omicron. Time for you to sound off. Have you cruised at all during 2022? I know we're only a few weeks into it, but have you cruised? Have you cruised late December? What do you think about cruising during those times to previous cruise times? Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for checking out the show today. I sure hope you enjoyed it. You can show that you did by hitting the like button, and sadly, if you do not hit the like button, I'll be forced to punish you. And some people seem to like these punishments, but neither here nor there. If you do not hit the like button, you will be forced to listen to the Grease soundtrack over and over and over until your next cruise. Look at me, I'm Sandra. This is Tony for Lido, Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.